going on, guys? Thank you so very much for joining me right here on Off the Script. It is Saturday, June 27th, 2020. And if you thought yesterday's show was full of news, full of WWE ridiculousness, man, oh man, we're going to top ourselves today on part 2 of the podcast, man. So much news, my head is going to explode. It is all just absolutely exhausting. It really is. And I don't even know what else to add on top of what I've already stated in regards to this COVID WWE situation. Who's tested positive, who's tested negative. If you guys watched SmackDown last night, you got a good idea as to who was there and who was visibly absent on SmackDown last night. All of this, plus the Velveteen Dream story, which is sad in itself, it is just very depressing to even talk about. I got news, I got confirmation from Andrew Zarian of the Mat Men podcast. He actually reached out to me. He reported it on his show. Brian Alvarez and Sean Ross Sapp backed up his report. And I got news directly from him on the Velveteen Dream. What could possibly end up happening to the Velveteen Dream and what happened to him this week that has not been reported until last night during SmackDown. Unbelievable stuff, man. And then on top of that, rumored that he will be released from the WWE. Unbelievable stuff, man. I got news on WWE not wanting anybody in the company to tweet about their positive COVID tests. I got WWE not reaching out to Renee Young to check on her after her positive test. I got an anonymous WWE email, not me particularly, but an anonymous WWE Superstar leaks a tell-all email putting the company on blast for their COVID-19 procedures and the backstage reaction to the COVID tests. Wrestlers are actually being retested. And folks, you are not going to believe the reason. I think you guys are smart enough to know what the reason is. But the reason WWE is doing what they are doing, and the reason they are being so secretive, and the reason they are not really revealing anything to the general public, the one reason why WWE is doing everything that they are currently doing right now, it all leads to this one thing that was reported yesterday. And we all know WWE wants to have live shows with actual live fans again. But at the end of the day, it is Vince McMahon putting his business and his ego ahead of everybody in that company. So much so that I, as a fan, sit here and genuinely worry, not about that roster safety, but as a fan, I genuinely worry how many of these people are ever going to want to work for Vince McMahon ever again. I honestly believe that more than 50% of that roster actually right now want out of the WWE and would go anywhere else if things were normal. We're going to talk about all of this. Plus, I got the news on Tessa Blanchard and her being released from Impact Wrestling. Where does she go? Is she having any other promotions, WWE or AEW, show interest in her? Will she end up signing with anybody? And what I think is the best course of action for Tessa Blanchard right now anyway. Plus, we'll go over the Monday Night Raw stuff coming out of Monday. And you're not going to believe this one, folks. 2 things coming out of Monday Night Raw. A new strategy for producing shows under Bruce Prichard on Monday night, and a report that Vince McMahon is no longer looking to build new stars on Monday Night Raw. That could not be any more obvious than what happened in the women's championship situation on Raw with Asuka, and not a Bianca Belair, not a Ruby Riott, not a Liv Morgan, but a Sasha Banks. WWE is giving you illogical booking by having a SmackDown Superstar challenge for a Raw championship because Vince McMahon refuses to build new stars. It's going to be a loaded show, folks. Don't go anywhere. If you thought yesterday's show, some people were saying it was the best off the script of the entire year. If you thought yesterday's show was top-notch, get ready for today's. Thank you guys so much for joining me right here on Off the Script. There is a little bit of a positive piece of information I got for you, man. You guys know that I love my heavy metal. You guys know that I love my music. And I found out this morning, I had no idea until this morning, that Trivium, one of my favorite bands, Trivium, they are from Orlando, and they just released what I think is an incredible album, What the Dead Men Say. If you guys do not have, I guess, a Spotify or anything like that, or a streaming service, go and listen to it on YouTube. It's available on YouTube. It's easy to search. If you guys know who I'm talking about, Trivium is so great. Now, I was not a big fan of Trivium, but as they kind of grew and they matured, I just loved everything that they put out. And Matt Heafy is the type of guy that you would want just in your band, writing your music, and the level of guitar playing that he has and the level of songwriting ability that he has, it's just great, man. He's one of those old school guys trying to write music and incorporate the old school into the new school, and it just ends up being epic, man. The guy knows what he's doing. Anyway, Trivium is from Orlando, and they're actually on July 10th, live. And you got to buy a ticket to access it, which I am going to for sure. They are actually performing live, a full-blown global live stream experience for everybody sitting at home. Live from Full Sail University, full-blown concert, full-blown production, full-blown set. They're going to be live. It's not going to be pre-taped. And they are going to be playing live their entire catalog. Just songs from all over, spanning all of their career. $9 per ticket. A global live stream experience from Full Sail University, man. If you guys are into that type of thing, if you're into Trivium, go and check it out. I'm going to be all over that. And I honestly think with the way the current situation is in the world, that if you have a band that you like and you're not able to see them tour, and obviously there's no touring right now, I honestly think this is a beautiful foundation for other bands to do the same thing. And I find it very, very intriguing, and I wonder how they're going to be able to pull this off, if it's going to be successful. If it is, other bands could easily follow suit, at least in the meantime, until we get back to going to concerts and attending concerts, which I definitely want to have happen again, because I missed both Symphony X and Alter Bridge in May, and that really did not sit well with me. That would have been the first time ever that I watched them live back-to-back weeks. I was supposed to go see Alter Bridge one week, and then Symphony X in Long Island for their anniversary show, their 25th anniversary, which, you know, it made me sad, you know, and we have the COVID situation to blame for that, but I found that to be very interesting, and a little positive piece of information coming my way on top of all this negative stuff, man, which we're going to get into in just a second. But again, thank you guys so much for joining me here on the podcast, and let me go over this real quick. We got Patreon, patreon.com/JD from NY206. Follow me on Twitter, at JD from NY206, on Twitter and Instagram. If you missed part 1 of Off the Script, if you missed my SmackDown review, both were live on Friday. Go and check all of that stuff out. Links are down below. Make sure you guys check out the NXT review with Jesse. Probably one of the best reviews that we've done together since we've been working together on Wednesday night. Go and check that out. Full of information. Almost an hour and a half of audio content over there. And then the Monday Night Raw review, as always, incredibly popular during the week. Go and check that out. Links are down below for all of that stuff if you did miss any of that content during the week. Hit that subscribe button down below. Turn on that bell for all notifications. As always, hit that thumbs up. And today's podcast is brought to you by Harry's, harrys.com/scripts. Look good this summer, and there's only one way that you could look good, and that is Harry's, man. harrys.com/script for your trial set today. So go and check that out, and I want to thank them, as always, for being such a great sponsor and a great friend of the podcast. Let's get into the news, man. Let's get into the news. We're going to start at the top, and it's very, very sad, and it's very negative, and I hope this turns out to be a situation that he does come back from. Because when I read the story, I actually thought the worst. And you guys know that I've spoke very, very highly about him for several years. And that is Patrick Clark, the Velveteen Dream. Velveteen Dream was in a car accident. And he is rumored to be released from the WWE. Now, I got all this information from my buddy Andrew Zarian of the Mat Men podcast. I will link all of their stuff down below in the description of this video. Go and check them out. They're always a good listen, always professional, and they're always on top of their game, especially Andrew. I've worked with Andrew in the past. I actually had an interview with him. He was kind enough to reach out to me and have me on his show, and we sat down for half an hour just shooting the shit. He wanted to interview me about my path and my journey on YouTube and how I got 100,000 subscribers and why I joined the YouTube wrestling community in the first place. My commentary for House of Glory, I actually did commentary with Andrew for one and only show, which I really enjoyed. And I would love to actually do that again when things go back to normal. But go and listen to them. Really, really great stuff coming out of his podcast over at the Mat Men podcast. I got all this information from him. Velveteen Dream, car accident, rumored to be released from the WWE. This is obviously due to the speaking out movement. And that empowered victims to speak out about abuse, any kind of abuse that they've had in the wrestling community with fans and wrestlers alike. The Velveteen Dream was a part of the speaking out movement. Real name Patrick Clark was the subject of more allegations last week regarding inappropriate messages sent to underage children. WWE has yet to take action, but they have been investigating claims on several wrestlers. Jack Gallagher was released immediately. He was actually exiled from all WWE websites. Jack Gallagher has been erased from WWE history. As of yesterday, Travis Banks and El Ligero released from NXT UK. I even read a report, I don't know how true it is, it's coming from Sportskeeda, that WWE is contemplating shutting down completely NXT UK. Now, I will not comment on that yet because I don't know if that's true or not. But that was in the news as of this morning that Triple H and WWE are possibly contemplating shutting down NXT UK due to all the allegations coming out of the United Kingdom. So those three guys were gone. Now we got the Velveteen Dream. Andrew Zarian and the Mat Men Pro Wrestling Podcast noted today on Twitter that two WWE sources have indicated to them that the Dream's days in the company are numbered. This would be an absolutely devastating blow to not only Patrick Clark, but NXT as a brand. When you have someone like the Velveteen Dream that is on track to be a one-of-a-kind athlete, one-of-a-kind character, a blow like that, a allegation like this, which leads to his termination, absolutely devastating blow, not only for NXT, but the WWE in general. Now, this is a huge blow. Yes, he was obviously in the wrong if ousted, if convicted, and is found to be guilty in this situation. This was the only decision that they could make if they do end up releasing him, which I'll get into the message Andrew sent me on this in a little bit. Sean Ross Sapp also noted that there is more negative news coming out on Dream that is not related to the recent allegations. Now, I'm going to read you what Andrew sent me on the Velveteen Dream situation. Now, he said that the Velveteen Dream, obviously, car accident we heard on Twitter, obviously the allegations you all know of. So, he said, in regards to Dream, I was told that Dream was done completely. They decided to release him on Monday. Now, we haven't had an official confirmation from WWE, but I'm going to believe Andrew on this situation because Andrew's the type of guy, and the podcast that he has is not going to put his name and his brand out there to release false information. He would not tell me anything that is not true. So obviously, when he says it, I'm going to believe him. They decided to release him on Monday after he was in a car crash, which was obviously then forwarded to Sean Ross Sapp and all other various sources, which ended up being legit. He was in a car crash. It was bad enough that he was pulled from the car crash, and it looks like a DUI. Now, he says, I haven't confirmed that it was a DUI, but this guy that he talks to, his source, has not been wrong in anything that he's told him. So then, obviously, I asked him if this was legit to report and if I had his blessing to report this on the podcast, and he said yes. And then he said Sean Ross Sapp and Alvarez both were able to confirm that they heard the same, and I can guarantee, he says, it was not from the same guy that he is in contact with, so this is coming from multiple sources in regards to the Velveteen Dream. That's all we know. That's all we know on Patrick Clark. Now, I don't even know where to begin with this because it's such a sad situation. And you guys know how highly I spoke of Patrick Clark and the Velveteen Dream. But with all these allegations, I'm not justifying Velveteen. I'm not sitting here saying, oh, he's innocent. He's innocent. This is exactly what WWE needs to do, and this is what I stated 2 weeks ago when I talked about the speaking out movement. Actually, a week ago. Last week on the show. Everybody is innocent until proven guilty. WWE clearly is taking this a step further, several steps further. They're following a full-blown investigation here. We don't know what they've uncovered. We don't know what else has been done in regards to the Velveteen Dream, what else he's done. We don't know if they are legit or not. We don't know if he's innocent, guilty, etc., etc. They are taking it to a whole nother level to find out what is right and what is wrong. Everybody that came out about the Velveteen Dream, all the messages, the wrestlers that came out, the screenshots from the obvious verified Instagram and Twitter accounts, everything that came out about the Velveteen Dream was disgusting. It made everybody look at Patrick Clark in a completely different way, and everything that we said about him, we looked foolish for believing in someone like that. It made us rethink what we really think about someone that we all were supporting on this wrestling journey. I even said it, and I've said it for years. Patrick Clark was undeniable. He was on top of the world. He had the world by the balls, did Patrick Clark. The charisma that he had and the charisma that he's shown and the work ethic that he's shown at such a young age for not even winning the competition that he was on for WWE, to break out and create this character, which in hindsight, the character was a little bit too much of a real life situation. You know, now that you think about it. But he took all of this, molded it into something that we were all dying to see break out. The charisma that he had was equal, if not greater, combined than everybody on the main roster currently. That's there, actively competing every single week on the main roster. I even said it on my NXT review many, many years ago. With Patrick Clark as the Velveteen Dream, he was a rarity. He was a rare character in a world of pro wrestling right now in 2020 where we don't see many characters like that. Everybody's cut from the same cloth in modern day pro wrestling. They're all flippy, they're all divey, they're all gymnasts. There's no real characters coming out of pro wrestling now. This is why I was so high on Patrick Clark. This is why I love what Dexter Lumis is doing on NXT. This is why I love those types of guys, because they are different. They're doing something that a lot of people right now kind of lost sight of. Character development. And they own their characters. Matt Hardy is another guy that we all fell in love with. Matt Hardy's a guy that we all just looked at and respected even more so because he lived the gimmick everywhere he went. I mean, the guy could go to Walmart and be broken. He would not shed that gimmick when he was in the height of that gimmick's lifespan. Velveteen Dream was the same thing. He obviously took it a little bit too far. The gimmick still lived even when he wasn't on TV in the most heinous and disturbing ways possible. I looked at the Velveteen Dream as a future WWE champion. I looked at the Velveteen Dream as a guy that could lead a brand, no question, as he grew and as he matured. And now, his career is seemingly over. What he did was disgusting. I do not condone that at all. Nobody should ever condone what he did. But the one thing I do want to point out, and I don't want to be insensitive because everybody has their story, and I'm glad everybody came forth and expressed themselves with the movement. That's exactly what the movement was for. But I don't think in the time that people are speaking out about their abuse, I don't think they're thinking about what could be for Patrick Clark, the man. Now he is without something, and this is his own fault, I know this. Now he is without something that he cherished and loved more so than anything in this world. He's without pro wrestling now. He had no plan B, he had no plan C. And God knows what the man is thinking. Who knows if he is now suicidal? Who knows if this DUI, we don't know if it was a DUI, confirmed. But who's to say that the man, after all the allegations, all the uncertainty surrounding his WWE career, did not become suicidal and wanted to end his life due to everything that's happening? God forbid. God forbid. We don't know. We don't know. I don't know if he will ever recover. Because it's one thing to be ousted like a Tiger Woods. It's one thing to be ousted like one of these big sports celebrities that goes out there like a Kobe Bryant. Cheated on his wife, had an affair, did nefarious things with multiple women, whatever the case may be, right? You got ousted. Tiger Woods came back. Nobody thought he would ever come back from what he was being, allegedly accused of. Came back and won, what was it, a Masters? He was back to being the best golf player in the world. But they did bad, but they didn't do what the Velveteen Dream is being accused of doing. When you mix what the Velveteen Dream is doing and mix that in with the world of pro wrestling, and you're sharing a locker room with anybody, it could be any sport where the Velveteen Dream was accused of being, what he is in the general public's eyes now, you're going to walk into a locker room and you're never going to be respected by anybody ever again. Anybody that had any shred of respect for you will not look you in the eye, will never be able to look you in the eye ever again. Because everybody that you share a locker room with has a family, has kids of their own. And they look at you as a predator on little children. And I don't think anybody will ever have respect for him ever again. I don't think he'll ever find a job in this business ever again if accused and ultimately released from the WWE. But what drove him to get into a car accident? It stemmed from everything that he's being accused of. And again, I don't want to throw it out there. I don't want to assume. But we don't know what's going on in the mind of Patrick Clark. He may end up being suicidal with everything that's going on right now. And it all goes back to how possibly he was raised. We don't know his backstory. We don't know his backstory at all. It is a mental thing. We don't know how he was raised, how he was brought up, what type of childhood he had. We don't know anything about his backstory, which led to this version of Patrick Clark. I just find it real weird. I really do, how someone could just blatantly destroy their own career without realizing what they're doing. It is mental. It is all up here. He's not thinking like a normal human being. And a lot of people I've seen on social media, this is the same guy that dated Kathy Kelly. Why did he need to go and seek out young, innocent children and send nudes and, ask for sexual favors from little children? We don't know why, but it's not right. He's not right up here. Velveteen Dream could have had any woman he wanted. He didn't realize that. I mean, you had Kathy Kelly. I mean, I don't know how much better you could get than that. And even then, we don't know why they split. But I hope for the best in this situation. I really do. I don't want him to go out there and take his own life because now he doesn't have the one thing that he trained for all of his life. The one thing that he loved most in this life is pro wrestling. And it's just really weird that he would do all of this after all the stories that we heard coming out of NXT and coming out of the Performance Center, how he's training next to Shawn Michaels, how he's the new pet project of HBK, how much work he's putting in, how much work he's putting in on the character, how much work he's putting in on a grand entrance, how much work he's putting in on his promo ability, how much work he's putting on in the ring as far as bettering his in-ring ability. You heard all these stories about how great he was doing on his way to being one of the top superstars in this business. He got an endorsement from John Cena, of all people, a couple of years back at a Comic-Con convention, when John Cena was asked, who in NXT would you like to face? Velveteen Dream was at the top of the list. How you could take that and go and act like this and just throw it all away. You threw it all away for absolutely nothing. And my thoughts and prayers are with Velveteen Dream. What he did was heinous. What he did was disgusting. What he did was absolutely just sickening to anyone's stomach. But I hope for the man, Patrick Clark, that he ends up being okay. Now, he was released from the hospital with the DUI. He was released from the hospital. But until we find any more information on this, I will keep it at that. You know? A lot of these speaking out cases. Yeah, it's great that you're speaking out. It's great that you're getting it out there. It's great that you're not afraid anymore. And I'm glad that you are. And I support you in being free and wanting to clean up the community because the community needs to be cleaned up. But I don't think in that instance that people are thinking about what this could potentially do to somebody mentally, you know, on the opposite end. Yeah, you were hurt, but now this could result in someone taking their life. And I don't think people are thinking about that aspect of it all. And I pray that Patrick Clark ends up being okay with this. And I will be for the right decision to be made here. If he's guilty, fire him. If he's innocent, give him a second chance. That's what the investigation is for. I just hate to see talent wasted, and his career was thrown away for absolutely nothing. Unreal. COVID. WWE's got all these COVID tests. We went over it on Friday's show. It is so exhausting to even think about. And I got follow-ups. I got follow-ups upon follow-ups upon follow-ups here. And it all leads to one thing, folks. It all leads to one thing, and you're not going to be surprised at all, but at the end of the day, I am very, very surprised anybody is going to want to work for Vince McMahon ever again. Because he wants to be the first out of everybody, out of every sports league, to do this one thing. And he doesn't care who gets sick, who dies, who does what, who's tested positive, who tested negative, how many tests have been administered. He doesn't care about any of that unless he gets what he wants. WWE doesn't want anyone in the company to tweet about their positive COVID-19 tests. So far, only a few people in WWE have said publicly that they have tested positive for COVID-19. Renee Young, Adam Pearce, Jamie Noble, and Kayla Braxton are among the names that have said publicly that they've tested positive. I want to make sure you guys are aware. If you watched SmackDown last night, which I'm assuming none of you did after you've seen what WWE did with the first hour, WWE had to rewrite the entire show because of COVID reasons, because of positive and negative testing results. If you watched SmackDown last night, we were supposed to get a Drew Gulak versus AJ Styles match that was made because Daniel Bryan said, why don't you give Drew Gulak an IC title match? Because I obviously don't deserve it right now. Why don't you give Drew Gulak one? We were supposed to get that match last night on SmackDown. We did not. We were also supposed to get Sheamus toasting Jeff Hardy, and we didn't get that either. AJ Styles and Sheamus were not on the show. So that obviously led to people talking this morning, and I immediately noticed it, that AJ Styles and Sheamus were not on the show. So we don't know what's happening with that. Do they have COVID? Did they test positive? Only time will tell. Now, there are many more who have tested positive, but WWE are keeping quiet. Brian Alvarez noted on Wrestling Observer Live that WWE does not want anyone to go public about their positive testing. He says, and I quote, "I can tell you for a fact that the company doesn't want anyone tweeting about the fact that they are positive or negative. I've heard other names that have tested positive that have not tweeted about it." End quote. The in-ring talent and staff are not the only people who have tested positive, Alvarez added, and I quote, "There are some friends and family that are now infected." End quote. More news will likely get out in the next couple of days. As noted, Raw was supposed to be taped yesterday for the next 2 weeks. They postponed that taping until today. We don't know if the Raw taping is going on as scheduled on Saturday. I guess we'll find out as the day goes on. Raw was postponed. They hope to tape the show on Saturday. The reason why the show was postponed is that some COVID-19 tests came back and the company was not happy with the results. I wish they were not happy with the creative and then obviously took the same steps to go and do a rewrite on a normal week. The way that they go about these COVID tests. Oh, we're not happy with COVID tests. Let's go back and do it again. Which my brother told me that the tests aren't always right. There's a 50-50 chance that these tests could be bullshit. You test positive, and you might not have anything. You test negative, you might have it. It's not right. It's not right all of the time. Until this week, wrestlers were discouraged from wearing masks, but clearly, as you watched SmackDown on Friday, they will now be allowed to wear them inside the Performance Center during the tapings. So the WWE doesn't want anyone to tweet out about their positive COVID-19 tests. WWE doesn't want anybody to tweet about their positive COVID tests because they want to keep everything under wraps for a specific reason. WWE might have a full-blown company-wide problem here, and they're trying their best to fan the flames. For what? What are they trying to keep secret? Why are they trying to keep everything secret? There's only one reason, folks. Vince McMahon himself might have fucking COVID. We don't know. We don't know. I would not be surprised if that's the case. But WWE's being very, very secretive about everything. WWE is yet to reach out to Renee Young after her positive COVID-19 test. WWE has yet to announce how many positive cases, and we will not be hearing how many positive cases, though Brian Alvarez mentioned dozens, and then he actually quote-tweeted himself and said, "Whatever you heard from me, it's much worse than that." Again, we're only assuming here. We don't have any concrete information. People in the company, they don't know anything that's going on. They don't know what is going on, who's affected, who is positive, who is negative. So much so that I believe someone reached out to Sean Ross Sapp and said, "How many people are negative and positive? Because you may know better than we do in the company here." That's the extent of this thing. That people are reaching out to fucking dirt sheets and journalists because they feel that they may know more than the actual roster does. Renee Young, she tested at home. She wasn't even given a WWE test. This was not a positive WWE test. She had to go and get tested independently. In the case of Renee Young, she was tested at home when she started to not feel well, and then she informed WWE management. Her husband, Jon Moxley, was tested, and his test came back negative. Now, we don't know what Moxley's status is for Fyter Fest. He's supposed to defend the AEW Championship against Brian Cage. We don't know if that is on currently. They're supposed to be filming. Now, we don't know if his test came back negative and it's negative, or he needs to be retested again because clearly he's home. He's in the same household as his wife, who is positive. And I read that Renee Young is through the worst of it, that she's on her way to recovering. Meltzer noted in the Wrestling Observer newsletter that neither Vince McMahon, Kevin Dunn, Triple H, or Mark Carrano has contacted her as of 6/25 to ask how she was doing. A lot of wrestlers did contact her and sent well wishes on social media. Meltzer noted in the Observer that at last word she was tired and her chest felt heavy. She then has improved from what she was feeling was her worst. Moxley is scheduled, like I said, to defend the AEW Championship against Brian Cage on July 8th, but that show will be taped this coming week. Moxley would need to undergo multiple COVID-19 tests, but there is no guarantee that he will be on the show. Man, oh man, can you imagine that? Can you imagine working for a fucking company? And this is the mentality that I don't get about WWE. You see the clear difference in Tony Khan and how he has acted during this entire situation and how WWE has acted. It is like two totally different sides of the spectrum with both AEW and WWE. Tony Khan actually gives a shit about his roster. Tony Khan knows that he is going to be the fallback guy if things go bad. He's trying his best to make sure everybody is safe and that the television shows resume as scheduled. Yet WWE, the biggest pro wrestling company in the world, employs so much of the business today, can't even find the time to reach out to one of their most beloved backstage interviewers, one of their most beloved personalities on current TV. I find that to be so disrespectful in a way that when her contract is up, she's going to look back at this situation and realize, do I want to work for people that clearly don't even give a shit if I'm alive or dead? Am I going to want to work for somebody that can't even take 10 seconds out of his day to say, hey, Renee, how are you doing? I'm legit concerned about you. Get well. Hopefully we can get back to you getting back to work soon. Or is it that WWE is taking it out on Renee Young because of what Jon Moxley did, got up and left the company and wanted nothing to do with them anymore? I could imagine that being a situation. Oh, you're married to that guy. Oh, you're married to that guy who's the world champion of that other promotion. Fuck you. Fuck you. We don't give a shit. This is exactly what I said before. How many of these people currently are looking at the way WWE is handling this decision and wanting to work there, have a contract up, you know? How many want to stay with that company? How many want to work for a promotion that has handled this so haphazardly, so fucking just irresponsibly? How many of those people still want to work there? How many of those people will go back to work, even if things go back to normal for this man, for these people? It's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. It takes you 10 seconds to pick up your phone and ask Renee how she's doing. Can I do anything for you? But they did not. They did not. That is the level of respect that they have for Renee Young, and that is something that I know if I'm Renee Young, I'm taking to the fucking grave. Oh, I'm dying here at home with this fucking illness that everybody seems to be getting nowadays. The big thing that everybody's talking about, and you can't pick up your fucking phone for 10 seconds and ask how I'm doing. Or ask how my husband is doing, that he gave you 7 years of his fucking life. WWE are scum. Absolutely fucking scummy people. Is everybody in management at WWE? There was an anonymous WWE superstar that leaked a tell-all email putting the company on blast for their COVID-19 procedures. An anonymous WWE superstar has revealed how the company is handling the CV-19. The email also expresses frustration that everybody's been hearing about all through this pandemic about WWE. This email released by Wrestling Inc. also confirmed a Ringside News exclusive report about Kevin Dunn and his stance on masks. And yes, it was true that Kevin Dunn did not allow fans to wear masks and made a scene twice over the PA to not wear masks. Meanwhile, as of this morning, this is a legit email leaked to Wrestling Inc. for them to report. Meanwhile, I seen on Twitter this morning that The Rock's daughter, Simone Johnson, was tweeting and quote tweeting, I believe, the the Pro Wrestling Torch, Wade Keller and the Pro Wrestling Torch, a report that was made about Kevin Dunn. She actually quote tweeted one of their articles about Kevin Dunn and the fact that he did get on the PA system and tell people that they were not allowed to wear masks. She said, instead of clickbaiting, why don't you go out there and tell the truth about what really happened? Because whatever is in this article is not true whatsoever. So you mean to tell me that WWE has Simone Johnson in their pocket, and she's the daughter of The Rock, and she would never say anything that's untruthful. She would never say anything that is, lying to the general public, right? So you mean to tell me that WWE has Simone Johnson go out there and claim that whatever Kevin Dunn said is nothing but a fucking false statement? Are you serious? I don't believe Simone Johnson for one single solitary second. I said it once, and I'll continue saying it again. I don't work for the company. I don't know anybody that works for the company on a personal level. I don't need to. You watch the show, and you could absolutely, with your own fucking eyes, just draw a picture of what Kevin Dunn said and say, you know what? I could absolutely believe that it is a true statement that he did say he did not want people wearing masks. Fans are not allowed to wear masks. I absolutely believe he said that. And again, I have to go over it again. Look at the micromanaging of the production side of Raw and SmackDown. Everybody is standing in certain spots. They're told who to cheer, who to boo, how loud to cheer, how low to boo, what chants to chant. The energy in that building is not the same that you see on an AEW Dynamite. The energy in that building is very overproduced. The energy in that building that they wanted to add to the show, to bring the show life, is very overproduced. It is disingenuous. It is not an organic reaction to anything that's happening in the ring. Everybody in that audience that is acting as fans is wearing a WWE piece of merchandise around ringside, behind the plexiglass. Certain things like that you notice by watching weeks and weeks of this TV, and then you want me to believe this fucking statement is not true? Or because Simone Johnson said that's not true, you're clickbaiting. Why don't you clickbait the truth instead of this false story? Bullshit! Bullshit! I don't know who this anonymous superstar is, but he put everybody on blast. And you know what? I believe the email. I don't believe this guy is just leaking emails. I don't believe this guy is just fabricating a fucking story out of thin air. Why would he? This is the email. Let's read the email. The email called out some superstars for lying on a questionnaire that WWE sent its roster. People are asked if they have attended public events or gatherings. They're allowed in when some have attended packed beaches, parties, and recently opened amusement parks in Florida. This is the email, and I quote, "Now that WWE has more talent and staffers starting to test positive, we've been informed by talent relations not to discuss our illness with anyone besides those we may live with that may need to know." So clearly the report that everybody has been reporting as of yesterday about WWE not wanting its roster to go out there and reveal if you tested positive and then post it on Twitter or Instagram, that is revealed right in the opening statement of this email. It's true. We are forbidden to tell anyone else, nor can we come out publicly to make any statements. It was stressed that WWE will take care of any medical treatments should we need them. In the same breath, it was made clear the company would handle the PR and only those that needed to know about our condition would know, as HIPAA laws would prevent them from making our names public. While I appreciate WWE's assistance helping those of us during these unprecedented times, WWE put us in this position in the first place. Like I've said, the last 2 weeks, all they had to do was test. That's it. If you administered tests from the get-go, instead of just taking people's forehead temperatures and then allowing them in the building, knowing that the roster is obviously going to be excited about attending a beach when restrictions are lifted or eased up on, attending a beach with packed people, attending a party, attending an outing, going to an amusement park where I'm sure social distancing is not adhered to 100% of the time, going to a bar, going to a restaurant, etc., etc. Don't you think you should be administering tests knowing the behavior of your roster? And then people, this is the reason why Kayla Braxton left social media. Because she was photographing herself in a situation, in a public setting, with no mask on, not adhering to any of the procedures that one should be adhering to during this time, photographing herself on social media. Fans started coming for her and started telling her how to live her life. But if you don't want fan backlash and you don't want all of this out there and you don't want WWE to be put in a position that they're in right now, you're not really helping anybody's cause. You're not helping your cause. You're not helping the company's cause by posting a fucking picture on Instagram when everybody is just telling WWE, have the talent wear masks. Don't go out and be irresponsible. All we wanted was for the WWE to adhere masks to these fucking people. All we wanted was WWE to administer a fucking test and take the proper protocol. But these people, not just Kayla Braxton, but I'm sure a lot of people, beaches, amusement parks, this and that, people who live in Orlando want to go out and party, are not really helping anybody's cause when you're pretty much photoing yourself and blasting pictures all over social media. You're not cool. You're not cool. As a public figure, you're acting irresponsibly. So this email says, WWE's assistance in helping us during these unprecedented times. The WWE put us in this position in the first place. They did. All they had to do was administer a fucking test. All they had to do was allow masks. And they did not do the two simplest things in the entire process. I know masks are an inconvenience. They are. Nobody likes wearing a fucking mask. I pray the day the masks go away. But these people are acting like God. These people are acting above everybody else. These people are acting selfish, with only their best interests at heart. The WWE is acting with their best interests at heart. Fuck the roster. All because they want live television. All because they want the portrayal of live television. It's safe to come back to the WWE shows. Look, nobody needs to wear a mask. Look, we're safe. That's the reason why they were doing it. And they fucked themselves in the end. And now they still want to act as if they are high and mighty above everybody else. They put them in this position in the first place. They continue to tape multiple shows a day that average 10 to 12 hours plus for at least 2, sometimes 3 days in a row. Those in attendance are kept in air-conditioned tents away from the active talent and staff that are housed in other sets of tents on the PC property. Most people were not tested until last week. As we were told, they didn't believe the validity of some of the testing being done, which, again, goes back to the earlier report I just read that WWE wanted to hold tapings on Friday. They held off on Saturday, which, again, we don't know if the Saturday tapings are going to go on as scheduled, because they tested everybody and they were not happy with the results. They did not believe the validity of some of the tests. Again, proven to be true in this email. They figured they would have their own so-called testing, which included temperature checks and a medical evaluation form. But no testing for COVID. Look at where it got them now. Some people were asked to invite friends, family, and some fans they've befriended to attend shows at the PC. How do you think they feel now? Knowing potentially they put those they regarded as close to them in harm's way. And yes, it was true that Kevin Dunn did not allow masks and made a scene twice over the PA system to not wear masks. It's a shame these people came out to support the talent and company they love and were treated this way. Unreal. WWE wants them to work for the company, but the company doesn't want to work for them. WWE wants to utilize their services in making their products seem more safe when we know it's not, and the company will not do anything to protect those individuals that they're putting in that place in the first place. Who wants to work here? Who wants to remain working for this company? Who wants to show up for work? Who wants to work for a company that doesn't give a shit about anybody's well-being? If you're a fan, and you're one of those fans, you're looking at the company in a completely different light after this entire situation. In closing, I would like to give you some information on our medical screening process, as most have been calling it a questionnaire. One of the questions asked is, have we done anything that would put ourselves at risk for contracting COVID-19? You're giving these people a fucking questionnaire in a way where it's very easy for them to lie. Have they done anything to put themselves at risk of contracting COVID-19? That includes being around large gatherings, not wearing masks, where it's suggested that we do so. Some have attended packed beaches, parties, recently opened amusement parks in Florida. They know better than post pictures on social media accounts, as they shouldn't be attending these locations in the first place. They'll talk about where they've gone, but won't mention it when it comes to time, or when it comes time to be screened by the company. It's very unfortunate that WWE puts business first and the health and safety of everyone second. Again, look, it's the last line in the email. It's very unfortunate that WWE puts business first and the health and safety of everyone second. We will come together. I cannot say the same thing about WWE management. The train is not only off the tracks, but has gone over the cliff in a blaze of glory. End quote. So what's going to be done? Is everybody going to band together and leave? Is everybody going to band together and not show up at the tapings? Because that's exactly what I said on Twitter on Friday. If I'm a WWE contracted talent, first of all, by the way, they're independent contractors. They're independent contractors first and foremost. That's what WWE wants you to believe. They're fucking independent contractors, but WWE is telling them that they can't post whatever on social media about positive and negative tests, which is fucking ridiculous. That takes the independent contract situation to a whole nother fuckery of a level. First of all. Secondly, I said it on Twitter. Everybody in that company that does not want to work, band together and don't show up. They're not going to fire everybody. Roman Reigns and Kevin Owens, they led the way for you. Get on the ball. Get everybody together that doesn't want to show up and leave. They can't have a show without you. They can't have weekly TV without you. Unreal. And the energy that it took for this email to be written and sent to dirt sheets. I don't know why this person or these people in WWE who feel the same exact way aren't gathering evidence to a fucking lawyer and getting themselves out of a goddamn contract that they clearly don't want to be a part of. That's the energy that you should be showing. Get yourself out of the contract. These people don't care about you. I don't know what else to say here. WWE's fucked up. I'm not surprised by this news. I've been saying this for weeks. Now, the backstage reaction to WWE's COVID-19 positive test. Wrestlers are being retested. Let's go back and revisit that. Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Select reports that one talent asked him how many positive tests there were because we would know better than them, Sean Ross Sapp says. That's exactly what the talent said. He thought Sean Ross Sapp would know how many tested positive because we don't know anything. We don't know anything. The people who work for the fucking company don't even know. You could be standing, sitting, working with somebody that tested positive and WWE, negligent, sent them out there and had them work. Now, they put you at risk. I said the same thing about Renee Young. Renee Young, we don't know if she was infected. What's the thing with this thing? This COVID? That it doesn't show itself for 4 or 5 days. You could be infected, not know you're infected. They sent her out there with half the fucking roster around ringside with Matt Riddle, AJ Styles, Daniel Bryan in the ring. Now you wonder why AJ Styles wasn't on the fucking show. People in the WWE were asking Sean Ross Sapp how many positive tests there were. Because he would know better than the actual roster. Wrestlers have not been informed of even an approximate number of tests, nor who tested positive. Many main roster wrestlers are generally upset about the handling by the company, as one talent stated that they also prefer if WWE had testing sets post-tapings. Another star was particularly concerned for backstage interview Caleb Braxton, who tested positive twice for the virus. I don't even know if you could get it twice. I really don't. Doesn't one's body develop antibodies against the virus? Why would you get it twice? Maybe, I don't even know how to go about that situation twice. I don't really understand that. But apparently she got it twice. That's what she said. And then she left social media because fans started to drag her about posting pictures in social settings without following proper virus procedures. There were multiple NXT wrestlers who needed to be retested after being exposed to somebody positive. Who that is, good luck finding out. But the good news is they tested negative. There were also said to be a concern about a couple of small gatherings that took place among wrestlers due to the rumored numbers being so high with positive tests. This is across the board in WWE. Well, we wouldn't know who's positive and negative, right? Because we didn't test. If WWE actually started again, I got to make it into a t-shirt. All you had to do from day one was test. If people knew, you're not going to tell anybody, how the fuck are they supposed to know? You went and told nobody and acted as if everybody was negative. These people go and hang out with each other. They're spreading the virus around. Whose fault is that? Whose fault is that? That's WWE's fault, it sounds like, to me. All you had to do was test. If people knew who were positive and who were negative, then there wouldn't be gatherings with those fucking people. But they had gatherings anyway. How is this even a thing? Unreal. Despite positive tests, there were still some at the Performance Center who were not required to come in for testing. The report also attached a message sent out by WWE on Thursday morning after 9 a.m. at the Performance Center. Per Vince, it says, all talent are needed for TV on Friday and Saturday. Please go to PC by 10:30 a.m. for drive-through COVID testing. If you took test yesterday, you don't need to today. If you are a high-level storyline, or if you are in a high-level storyline, you will be off camera. Thanks. Important in big letters. After test, you will need to remain isolated and quarantined until after TV tapings. End quote. That is per Vince McMahon. WWE did another round of testing on Thursday, but those who took the test have yet to get their results back. But they taped Friday anyway. They took the test on Thursday, and they taped without knowing who was negative and who was positive. In fact, the report states that several NXT stars and Performance Center recruits plan to skip this week's tapings after the second COVID test. Of course, this then led to the numbers being accelerated by the numerous other tests. Unreal. WWE continued to urge them to come in despite expressing that they weren't comfortable doing so. At least two major stars did not plan on attending the next set of TV tapings. So this is obviously Kevin Owens, I believe, and Ric Flair. Ric Flair is not coming to the tapings. The 24 range and the 24 number being floated around by PW Insider are not exaggerated, and the belief that the numbers is that it's much higher. The problem is that the wrestlers are not being told what the real number is, and people within the company have been texting each other to find out if their friends have tested negative and positive. PW Insider was told that Ric Flair will not be at future TV tapings in the wake of the news of recent positive tests. At last word, Flair has not been showing any symptoms, but it is not known if his test came back negative or positive. Only people at the highest levels of management have the list of who's tested positive, and that's not been shared with everyone else in the company. PW Insider was also told that there are wrestlers who are considering staying home for the next set of tapings, and at least 2 people have already decided that they will not return until masks are mandated for everyone who is not involved in a match. Now, I don't know who those are. The 2 people that at least that I'm knowing of right now, Flair and Kevin Owens, who opted to stay home and told WWE management, listen, my wife's grandpa just passed away from this thing. I am not bringing this thing home. They didn't give him an issue. So Ric Flair is not going to be at the TV tapings. PW Insider was told that there are wrestlers, again, who are staying home. No masks, you're not getting me in the building. Now, this is a reversal from what was being reported a few days ago when Kevin Dunn did say it over the PA system. Brian Alvarez noted that he was told masks were discouraged from being worn inside the Performance Center. But we got Simone Johnson coming out saying that all the reports are false. Go sit in your lane. We don't need to hear from you when we know that you're the one fucking lying and trying to cover up whatever the WWE wants you to cover up. I don't even work there, and I know it was said. Open your eyes. This is a reversal. The recent outbreak has forced WWE, Vince McMahon, to reverse this decision. WWE is currently, right now, contemplating taping SmackDown and Raw for next week. Raw is supposed to be taped tonight, which we don't know yet, if that is even a thing inside the Performance Center. So SmackDown was taped on Friday. It was taped to live to taped or something like that. What's the terminology they used? It's as close to being live as possible. They taped it and went right to live on Fox Sports. So that was that. And fans, obviously in the building behind the plexiglass, had masks. So clearly that was now mandated, as it's a fucking mandatory thing in Orange County. And the friends and family that were there at the last set of tapings, you didn't see them at this week's taping for SmackDown. Folks, what is this all leading to? What is this all leading to? Why is WWE being so secretive about everything? Why doesn't the roster know? Why isn't WWE taking the initiative to let the roster know what is going on? Because they don't trust the roster. They don't trust the roster. They feel like the more that they can control, the more it's going to fit in with their agenda. This is all leading to one thing, folks. And again, this comes from Andrew Zarian of the Mat Men podcast. Dave Meltzer backed up the original report from Andrew Zarian. Reported that WWE has contacted a company for local people for TV tapings on a Friday and a Monday in late July. Per Per the report, the TV tapings would take place at the RP Funding Center in Lakeland, Florida, which seats 8,000 people on Friday, July 24th, and Monday, July 27th. These would be live shows of Raw and SmackDown. The arena has hosted Ring of Honor shows in the past. I believe that was the last Super Card of Honor, I believe, with the Hardys and the Young Bucks in that ladder match. That's the same building that Ring of Honor ran out of right before Matt Hardy and Jeff Hardy showed up at WrestleMania for WrestleMania 31, if I'm not mistaken. These will be live shows. Ring of Honor ran this building in the past, of course, with things always changing and the virus and guidelines to battle it. WWE may have to push this back to August to shoot live TV. WWE Chairman Vince McMahon originally wanted to announce these dates this coming week himself because he wants to be the first person to hold a live indoor sports event with fans again. Let me repeat this, folks. This is it. This is you digging for the gold and the buried treasure right here. You found it. Everything that WWE has done up until this point, their lackadaisical fucking handling of everything here leads to this one sentence. Vince McMahon himself wanted to announce publicly these dates this week because he wants to be the first, number one, to hold live indoor sports events with fans again. Vince McMahon has put everybody in this company at risk. Vince McMahon's put everybody's health on this roster at risk. Vince McMahon doesn't give a shit if you live, if you die, as long as you are serving him. Vince McMahon is Satan himself. Vince McMahon does not give a shit about anyone or anything in WWE besides who sucks his dick and who lines his pocket with all the money it could possibly fit. This is absolutely fucking damning information. And again, I always circle back to all they needed to do was test. This would actually be a possibility. Now with 6, 7, 8,000 cases in Florida rising every day, clearly the more you test, the more you're going to find out who's positive with this thing. But I don't think that's a certain climate in which you should actually go out there and have live fans in attendance. I don't want that. I don't want to have everybody's health be put at risk. The more WWE acts, the more their reputation sinks lower and lower into the grave. The more WWE acts the way that they do, every single solitary week, things get worse. Every single solitary day, things get worse. There's one person added to the list of people who want out of the company, that will never return, that will go and work somewhere else when they can. Because who wants to work for a company that doesn't give a shit about you? Who wants to work for a company that is going to put the business first, the money first, over the lives, the well-being, and the families of everybody who holds this company on its back? Vince doesn't realize without who he has now, the company doesn't exist. Vince McMahon cannot run this company the way that it is. And if Vince thinks everybody is going to be replaceable at the end of the day, you're not going to have anybody to replace all of the talent that wants to leave, because after everything you've done and the stance you've taken with the protocols and the lackadaisical fucking bullshit and the negligence, who is going to want to work for you? Nobody. I know I wouldn't. This is why I said the energy going into writing emails and blasting the company, you should be gathering all your information for a lawyer to get out of your contract. Why would you want to be there? For all of the energy that is going into blasting WWE, everybody should band together and walk out until they start doing the right thing. They cannot operate the business without you. You are the business. Show me. Today's podcast is brought to you guys by my good friends over at Harry's. Harry's.com/script. We all know times are tough right now. I mean, just look at Vince McMahon. Look at the WWE. Times are tough is an understatement when it comes to them. Don't feel like the WWE, man. Use some Harry's. Harry's wants to help you look your best while saving you a little bit of cash along the way. I've been with Harry's for 3 years, man. You guys don't need to hear it from me anymore. You should have it ingrained up here in your heads. Harry's is the best shave that you will ever have. I've used them for 3 years, never looked back, never looked at another competitor at all. It's always Harry's. I love the glide of the blade. I love the fact that I never cut myself. And I love the fact that their gel, their hydrating gel with aloe, keeps my skin feeling great. And I love the tingling sensation that it gives me when I am shaving. It's awesome. Get a Harry's trial set today, delivered to your doorstep by going to harrys.com/script. They are a return to the essential. Quality, durable blades at a fair price. Just $2 per blade. They've cut out the middleman, manufacturing blades in their German blade factory, which has been honing precision for over a century, which means you guys are going to get incredibly high-quality blades at factory direct prices. Harry's is also super convenient. Blade refills are delivered directly to your door on your schedule with or without a subscription. And in this challenging time, feel a little bit better about your purchase. Harry's is going to be donating $1 million worth of shaving supplies to hospitals across the United States. Listeners of Off the Script can redeem their trial set today by going to harrys.com/script. You guys are going to get this: a weighted handle for a firm grip, 5-blade razor with a lubricating strip and a trimmer blade, rich lathering shave gel with aloe to keep your skin hydrated, and a travel blade cover to keep your razor dry and easy on the go. Guys, it's simple. Start shaving better today. Start using Harry's. harrys.com/script. Man, it gets so hot in my office space here that I legitimately had to open my door, close the door to my bedroom, and turn on the air conditioner because after that hour and 10-minute stretch before the Harry's ad, I'm dripping sweat. Dripping sweat. That's how angry WWE makes me, man. I even got myself a cold beverage. Anyway, we got a lot of news to get into yet. Still, it is crazy how much pro wrestling news I got everywhere. Even dipping into the Impact pool. Tessa Blanchard fired from Impact Wrestling. Now, some of you might be happy with this decision. Some of you might be anticipating Tessa coming to WWE and AEW. I'm sure that she's going to be getting looks from everybody. Why wouldn't she? I said the same thing about Jordan Miles, ACH, when he got fired by WWE. He is too talented to not find work. Tessa Blanchard may be the best women's wrestler in the world. She is going to find work no matter what she did in her past. Do I agree with what she said? Absolutely not. Do I respect the woman as far as an in-ring talent? Absolutely. Could she add to AEW and WWE? Absolutely. Will they pick her up? That's a different story. I got cases for both to not pick her up. Let's talk about it. Impact Wrestling has announced that they've terminated their relationship with Tessa Blanchard. She was stripped of the Impact World Championship, which I found to be questionable anyway. I do not believe a woman should be holding a men's world championship. I'm sorry. The company issued the following statement on Tessa Blanchard. Impact Wrestling confirmed that it has terminated its relationship with Tessa Blanchard and stripped her of the Impact World Championship. End quote. That's all they said. Now the backstory here. Blanchard has not appeared at an Impact Wrestling taping since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic and was scheduled to return at the Slammiversary pay-per-view, where she would have put the title on the line against Trey Miguel, Eddie Edwards, Ace Austin, and Michael Elgin, who, by the way, was also terminated from Impact Wrestling. In the case of Elgin, He's gone. So I don't know what they do as far as the championship and who they put in the match to replace Tessa and Michael Elgin. I don't know, nor do I care. I'll probably tune in because I'm hearing rumblings of ex-WWE guys kind of taking over. So we'll see what happens there. PW Insider reports that relations between Impact and Blanchard have been on icy terms in recent weeks after she didn't send in a required promo from Mexico where she lives with her husband, Doug. The plan was to include the footage into one of the weekly episodes on Access TV to be presented via satellite, and that was supposed to be conducted by Josh Matthews, asking questions. The episode had to be re-edited when Blanchard did not send in the video. PW Insider also cited Impact sources saying that there were attempts made to get Blanchard to return so she could drop the title, and both sides were not able to come to terms. Now, presumably, this means that Blanchard is a free agent and is able to sign with any company, but she is not too far removed from allegations in her own situation of racism towards other wrestlers from a few years back. For that reason, there are questions on whether a national wrestling company would want to sign her right now, and with the pandemic, there aren't many options right now on the independent scene. However, there is no denying that she is one of the most talented wrestlers in today's wrestling scene for the women. The Fightful Select report adds that there is said to be interest in Blanchard from other promotions. Clearly, you know who they are. However, a specific point was made to note that the controversy surrounding Blanchard earlier this year had nothing to do with the decision to fire her. Blanchard obviously is the daughter of Tully Blanchard, who currently works for All Elite Wrestling. Let's talk about this, folks. Let's talk with AEW and their stance on how awful their women's division looks right now. Minus Hikaru Shida, of course. The promise is there. Could Tessa come on in and elevate that division? Absolutely, but AEW, they need to build around Tessa Blanchard, and I don't think that there is enough right now to build around Tessa Blanchard. You had Chris Statlander, she's going to be out the rest of the year. Hikaru Shida, Britt Baker is out. You got Nyla Rose. You got Anna Jay, who looks very impressive. You got Big Swole. You could bring back Riho. You could bring back, who else was there? Yuka Sakazaki was there, right? She's good. I actually like her better than Riho, to be honest with you. I don't think there's enough to build around Tessa Blanchard because once she comes in, then she is it. She's the end-all be-all of women in AEW. You need to build around her, and I don't think they have the pieces right now in place currently to build around her and bring everybody up to her level. She'd come in, and there would be quickly nothing for her to do. Give her the world championship, and then what? Work with everybody who is absolutely on another fucking level lower, 6 or 7 levels lower than where you are. I don't think Tessa wants that for herself. Additionally, Tony Khan is very in with what's going on right now. Tony Khan has done everything possible to make himself look like the good guy here, doing the right things. Jimmy Havoc in training, or sensitivity training, in rehab, per se, for what he did and was allegedly accused of. Sammy Guevara, sensitivity training for the words that he used on Sasha Banks and, things like that, things of that nature. Do you think Tony Khan, the way he is with his thumb on the pulse, or the finger of the pulse, or the finger on the pulse of what's going on in the community today, do you think Tony Khan is going to bring in somebody that already coming on in has a bad stigma to her? I don't think Tony Khan is going to go out there and say, oh, we need Tessa. This is why I was so just like, what the fuck? You didn't go out there and get Deonna Purrazzo? You knew she was done in 30 days. You didn't make an attempt to go get Deonna Purrazzo. I don't think AEW, I don't think Tony Khan is bringing in Tessa Blanchard right now. That would go against literally everything that he's done good. He's been in the good graces of everybody, doing the right thing. You hire her, kind of erases everything that you did anyway. WWE. Does WWE give a shit about her racial past? About statements she made years ago about racism towards another female wrestler? I don't think WWE gives a shit at all. I think WWE is in the boat of, Well, we didn't sign her in the first place because of behavior issues backstage. She was difficult to work with. Now we got this racism thing. Does WWE really give a shit about that? I mean, look at how they're handling everything else. And on top of that, when have they ever given a shit about any of that stuff? If WWE is going to sign somebody, they're going to sign somebody and keep them away from AEW. That's been the motto. So I would be shocked if WWE doesn't give Tessa Blanchard a contract, even knowing what was going on. That's on Tessa to live with for the rest of her career, which it will. No matter where she goes, Tessa's going to be living with this for the rest of her career. Where she goes, it's going to be brought up in every Twitter thread about Tessa Blanchard until the day she retires. It doesn't matter. If you are a fan of Tessa Blanchard, bless you. If you are not a fan of Tessa Blanchard, you probably will not be a fan of Tessa Blanchard no matter where she goes, no matter what year she signs. She could sign in 2028. Stay retired until 2028. It will still haunt her for the rest of her career. All those years she's gone absent. And you will still not be a fan. Because you don't forget. Social media doesn't forget, folks. Also, you got to think about Becky's out. Charlotte's out for elective surgery. And who else is out? Becky, Charlotte, and who the fuck else is out? I know there's somebody else out. Another big name is out. Whatever. Becky and Charlotte are out. So WWE clearly needs to bring in a top female. WWE needs to bring in a top... Ronda Rousey's out. There's the other name I was thinking. Ronda Rousey's out. She signed still to the WWE. Still making a paycheck from WWE. We don't know when she's coming back. Right? WWE could easily go out there and sign Tessa Blanchard with the thinking, with the mentality of we need another top female while every one of our top females is out. Because we refuse to build anybody else. And Sasha only goes so far. And Bayley only goes so far. And Asuka only goes so far. Fuck a Bianca Belair. Fuck a Shayna Baszler. Fuck a Ruby Riott. That could be their line of thinking as well. We have all of our big names out, and Tessa's a big name. Charlotte needs another feast at WrestleMania. Charlotte needs another woman to go out there and feed her empty stomach after all those months away, right? Just another way to solidify Charlotte Flair as being the best of all time. They'll build it up as the Four Horsewomen, right? All her Ric Flair, her father, Tully, right? Well, you get it, right? You know WWE's opting to look at that. They don't give a fuck what this woman did in her past. As long as it fits their agenda. We got to build Charlotte up as the greatest ever. We don't give a fuck what happened. Bring her on in. Keeps her away from AEW. So, needless to say, WWE is not going to shy away from signing Tessa Blanchard. And I honestly think, given Tony Khan's stance on everything, and Vince McMahon being a dastardly fucking nefarious prick, I honestly think Tessa's going to end up with WWE. Not only that, for those reasons, there's just more for her to do there. There's more for her to go out there and compete against, as if you went to AEW. This is where AEW dropped the ball. They needed to build their division, and they refused to do so. And we're stuck with what we got. And that's going to deter other women from coming into AEW. Simple. Now, for everybody chiming in on the Impact side, oh, I don't think the women's division is as good as it was before. You know, Impact Wrestling fans are not as bright as they seem to be, or pretend to be. They're a bunch of fucking blithering idiots. I mean, you watch Impact Wrestling. Your favorite promotion is Impact Wrestling. Really. Tessa Blanchard is not needed in Impact Wrestling. I mean, I don't even watch the fucking promotion, but I know what's coming out of their women's division. I know you don't need Tessa Blanchard to have probably the second best women's division in all of pro wrestling, next to NXT, of course. Next to NXT. You might even be better than NXT in some circles. Who knows? But you don't need Tessa Blanchard, folks. Jordynne Grace, Kylie Rae, Taya Valkyrie, Rosemary, Su Yung, Kiera Hogan, Tasha Steelz, Tenille Dashwood, and Havoc. You got a solid women's division right there. Why do you need Tessa Blanchard? What else was Tessa Blanchard going to do in that women's division? Nothing. She didn't want to be there, so she's gone. She stood out and didn't go back to work for one reason and one reason only, folks. She didn't want to be there anymore. On top of the COVID situation, which is blatant and obviously logical, why she didn't want to go back to work. She didn't want to be there anymore. There was nothing else for her to do. So she wrote her own story. She was the women's champion. They opted to give her she was the men's champion. She was the heavyweight champion. She was the Impact Wrestling Women's Champion as well, but she was the World Heavyweight Champion. She wrote her own story. She didn't go back to work means she don't have to drop the title to anybody. So now Impact is scrambling to rewrite a story that Tessa Blanchard kind of wrote for herself. She's the Impact World Champion who didn't lose, who went out in her own way, on her own terms, and now she's going to sign with a bigger promotion and continue to have a career for herself. Maybe. She didn't lose the title to anybody. She went out as the world champion. They stripped her, but she didn't have the 1, 2, 3. It's kind of funny. She didn't want to be there. Now, what do I think Tessa Blanchard should do? I think Tessa Blanchard should sit out, honestly. I don't know how long it's worth it for her to sit out, because no matter how long she sits out, no matter how she goes about coming back into another promotion, it's always going to be there for her. It's always going to be there, following her around like a fucking little dog, right? Like a little doggy. Feed me. And people are going to be waiting to jump all over her when she signs. They jumped all over her when she was about to have a world championship match, and they'll jump all over her again when she goes to an even bigger promotion, because that's what people do. They wait for you to hit the top, and they want to see you fail, and will do whatever they can to make you fall. I hope she battles through this, but at this point, I don't think she's going to find a job immediately. WWE is probably her best bet, because WWE and Tessa Blanchard and the actions from both parties kind of go hand in hand. You got nefarious WWE and you got racial Tessa Blanchard. Who gives a shit? It's a marriage made in fucking hell. Go ahead. Go to WWE and be the next asterisk on Charlotte's resume. WWE NXT gets big viewership win over AEW Dynamite. Seen all these people celebrating on social media, the ratings, NXT wins. The number came in this week, and NXT had 786,000 viewers. Dynamite drew 633,000 viewers. In the 18 to 49 demo, NXT averaged a 0.19 rating, which was actually down 5% from last Wednesday. The show finished 26th on cable TV in that demo. So with the 633,000 viewers, down 18%, and the lowest number of the show, that's the lowest show the number has ever done. Dynamite also had a series low with a 0.22 rating in the 18 to 49, down 21.4% from last week, and 17th for the night on cable. The 0.3 difference between the two shows in the 18 to 49 is the closest they've been since December 18th, the first and only time NXT beat Dynamite in the 18 to 49. The 153,000 viewer difference in total viewers is the biggest NXT win has to date on Wednesday night. Dynamite won every other demo, but they were much closer. AEW's best category was men 18 to 49, where they had a 0.29 rating to NXT's 0.23. The combined audience of 1.419 million was down 7% from last week, but still above the 10-week average. You know, I've seen a lot of people talk about why NXT won so big in the ratings. Why NXT this? Why NXT that? Now, I got two reasons for this. One of them I don't even know is a legit reason. Are people really that upset about Sammy Guevara getting suspended? Did they opt just to boycott the show now because AEW tried to do the right thing and they addressed the situation and they suspended Sammy Guevara? They sent him to personality or sensitivity training? Is that the reason why all of these people from the week before to this week did not watch Dynamite? Did all of Sammy G's subscribers not watch Dynamite because of what AEW did to him? I don't know if that's a logical reason behind it. Or maybe Here's one for you that's going to blow your fucking mind, people. How about Fyter Fest already being booked? The go-home shows usually don't mean anything for any show. Nobody watches. Everything's built up already. If people were excited in Fyter Fest already, and people were excited for what AEW is going to be giving us at Fyter Fest, and we kind of got the gist of it last week, why would we watch it this week? They didn't really do anything outside of the Orange Cassidy and Chris Jericho face-to-face. That was worth watching on that show. Yeah, SCU and FTR had a great match. Great match. But other than that, what was on the show? Luchasaurus and Wardlow, There really wasn't anything else on the show. Cody Rhodes did what he had to do. Contract signing with Jake Hager. He didn't even defend the TNT Championship. That's a big selling point as well. Who's coming out next? Who is his next challenge? How is Cody going to hold up? Is he going to be successful? Is an ex-WWE guy going to come out? They didn't even have that to hang their hat on. All they had legitimately new that was interesting was Orange Cassidy and Chris Jericho in the face-to-face that they had. So going on into that show Wednesday, you were already sold on Fyter Fest. What else did you need to know about Fyter Fest? Nothing. You know it's taking place over 2 weeks. You know the card. You know all the matches and the feuds that have been built. You've seen it play out on TV. Let me tune into NXT to see what they're doing because they're obviously going head-to-head. And they hyped up a big triple threat match with Finn Balor, Johnny Gargano, Keith Lee. And the winner of that match, the North American champion coming out of the match, is going to fight Adam Cole. Champion versus champion match in 2 weeks on that July 8th episode. People were intrigued about what they're doing with that. Other than that, the show sucked. The show was terrible. I didn't give a shit about anything else. Bronson Reed got a great match in with Karrion Kross. Anything else that happened on that show, I don't even remember. Jake Atlas and Santos Escobar. I didn't really care about anything else happening on that show. Undisputed Therapy. Dexter Lumis and Roddy didn't really have a match. Now we got a strap match being booked on next week's show. More bullshit with Robert Stone and Rhea Ripley. Who gives a shit? The show wasn't entertaining. Thus, I didn't do a review on YouTube. But the reason why NXT won was because there was more intrigue about something that they didn't know of. The fact that WWE sprung the Great American Bash on us, literally out of nowhere, and had no build prior to anything happening here, where Fyter Fest had weeks of build, there was more intrigue on NXT's side. What are they going to do to combat AEW? Is it worth it? Should I tune in? I know what's happening over here, but I don't know what's happening over there. People don't know that they share the same fucking audience. There was more intrigue on NXT's side. Thus, NXT won in the ratings. AEW had everything solidified already. Calm the fuck down. It's not that big of a deal. Nobody lost sleep over NXT beating AEW in the ratings. Nobody gives a shit. AEW is not getting canceled. In fact, everything that Vince McMahon is doing right now with WWE, they're making AEW look better and better by the week. By the hour. Give me a break. AEW is not getting canceled. AEW is not going anywhere. They still had a 0.29 in the 18 to 49. They still beat NXT in that. The one demographic that the advertisers look at. Spare me your fucking AEW is getting canceled. You're a fucking idiot. You make something out of absolutely nothing. Monday Night Raw, on the other hand, their ratings are still below 2 million. Oh, man, I love it. I love it. I love it. It's so great. Monday Night Raw ratings still below 2 million. Nothing has changed since Paul Heyman has been removed. Raw this week billed as Championship Monday, with 4 title matches and appearances by Edge and Ric Flair, averaged 1.92 million viewers. This would be the second best number since the week after WrestleMania, down 1% from last week's best number of the last 3+ months. You can sugarcoat it all you want. They're still below 2 million. Love it. The show did a 0.53 in the 18 to 49, the same number as the last few weeks, and the final Paul Heyman show. So the return of older wrestlers has brought back an older audience, but not an 18 to 49 audience. Of course. Of course. Raw was 16th for the night on cable, and 4th among non-new shows. In the 18 to 49, it finished in the number 5 spot on cable. Dwayne Johnson's Titan Games did 3.88 million viewers, second on the network television circuit, although trailing 2 cable news shows. It's 0.8 in the 18 to 49 was the highest number on all of television on Monday. The 12.4% first to third hour decline was normal for Monday Night Raw. But unlike last week, which was built with the big matches in hour 3, this had them spread out and thus didn't keep the audience as well. The drops from the first to third hour were 13% in women, 18 to 49, 17% in men, 18 to 49, while teenage girls stayed even and teenage boys dropped 5% and over 50 was 10%. The hours are as follows. 2.04 rating in 8 p.m. slot. In the 9 p.m. slot, it's a 1.95, and the 10 p.m. slot is a 1.78. So that is that. Monday Night Raw was trash, folks. Monday Night Raw was 3 hours of illogical garbage. Dolph Ziggler comes over from SmackDown, challenges Drew McIntyre for the WWE Championship. I don't know how much more I could rant on this. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. The horror show, man, you got that fucking down right to a T. The horror show. Dolph Ziggler with his rudimentary and formulaic fucking World Championship match every year, where he's nothing more than a fucking bridge for the champion to move on to something else. Did the same thing with Kofi Kingston last year. Came back out of nowhere. It should have been me, is what he said. Now you owe me. For what he did to Drew McIntyre, bringing him to Monday Night Raw, winning the tag team titles and pairing both of them together, giving him a spotlight on Raw. That's the story you're trying to tell me? Who the fuck gave a shit about their partnership? So much that they're going to find interest in this feud. And he just came over from SmackDown. How the fuck can you justify him being a number 1 contender? Here's a better clue, WWE. You brought over, which Dolph Ziggler mentioned, Bobby Roode came over in exchange for AJ Styles. While Monday Night Raw has no tag team division, you're opting to put a tag team, a half of a tag team, in a world championship situation on Raw. Why? When their value would probably be used best as a duo on Raw in the tag team division. It makes no sense whatsoever. Nia Jax and Charlotte Flair, they brawled. Nia Jax injured Charlotte Flair. So we got Charlotte Flair out, which we'll talk about tomorrow, because there will be a part 3 of Off the Script. There's just so much news, I can't fit it into all of these shows I'm doing now. I'd be here all day long. Charlotte Flair is out for elective surgery. She will be back in a couple of weeks, folks, so she will be at SummerSlam. Charlotte Flair was injured by Nia Jax. She lost to Asuka because of said injury, but WWE had Nia Jax be the reason for Charlotte Flair being out, instead of it being Shayna Baszler. How does that make any sense? They're opting still to go with Nia Jax being the most dominant heel on Monday Night Raw and fuck Shayna Baszler. I don't really understand that. I don't know what's funnier. The fact that Charlotte couldn't sell the injury that happened in the back on Monday Night Raw. She sat there like Mick Foley, rocking back and forth in a fucking deranged basement somewhere, talking about The Undertaker, right? Rocking back and forth. He got rats roaming around. He's pulling his hair out, making that weird noise he used to do, right? She sat there, no selling the injury. I don't know what's funnier. The fact that WWE had Nia take Charlotte out, or the fact that Charlotte Flair no-sold this fucking injury. And now she's out for elective surgery. I don't need to describe to you what that means, folks. Charlotte Flair is not injured. Charlotte Flair has not shown us any sort of an injury. It's elective surgery. I'll leave it up to the imagination. You know why she's out. I will not say it here. Give me a break. Charlotte Flair and Asuka, she loses, tapped out. It's coming still. Taking a while to get there, and they're throwing you off with the Sasha Banks situation, but Charlotte, Nia, and Asuka, with Charlotte winning at SummerSlam, is in the cards, folks. Don't worry about it. Nostradamus still holds the crown in the IWC. Tag Team Champion Street Profits defeated the Viking Raiders, didn't go more than 8 minutes. None of the championship matches on this show went more than 8 minutes. Championship Monday. Good on you, Bruce. Good on you. Asuka defeated Charlotte, like I said. Akira Tozawa defeated R-Truth to become the 24/7 champion with his fucking ninjas. Bobby Lashley came out, attacked R-Truth, which gave Akira Tozawa the win. Natalya defeated Liv Morgan. Liv Morgan actually called out and exposed WWE for cutting her match, editing her match, and cutting it down on Monday Night Raw. WWE released clips of the match or pictures of the match that we did not see on Monday night, and Liv Morgan called them out. Thanks for cutting my match and showing them the pieces that we didn't see live on Raw. But WWE's all about Liv Morgan and pushing Liv Morgan in that new, renewed character push on Raw, right? Sure. Big Show confronted Randy Orton and Ric Flair. Yes, because we all are dying to see Randy Orton versus The Big Show at Extreme Fools, the horror show. Again, it could not be any more true. It could not be any more true, man. Why this was needed on the show, I don't know. Then Liv Morgan wants to know why her match was cut on Monday night, because Big Show needed 3 segments on Monday night. Tag Team Champion Sasha Banks and Bayley defeated the Iconics, another match that went 3 minutes. The Iconics are awful. They're just fucking terrible. I'm sorry. If you are a fan of the Iconics, please go and watch Real Wrestling. Sasha Banks. Apollo Crews defeated Shelton Benjamin. Apparently MVP wants Apollo Crews in his MVP-like stable. This one went less than 8 minutes as well. Championship Monday, according to Bruce, where no matches go over 8 minutes. He defeated Shelton Benjamin. This match was a rematch from the week prior because Apollo Crews cheated to get Shelton Benjamin the 1-2-3. Rey Mysterio and Dominic Mysterio, Aleister Black, and Humberto Carrillo fought off Seth Rollins and his disciples. Yada, yada, yada. That's that. I'll wait to see Monday if Rollins or Mysterio are on the show. Just like Sheamus and AJ Styles weren't on SmackDown last night, I wonder if Mysterio and Rollins will be on the show because according to one source, someone on Raw has tested positive, and it's in a major storyline, and the storyline cannot continue without this individual. We'll see what happens. Raw was trash. Absolutely an illogical piece of 3-hour garbage is Monday Night Raw. WWE apparently is going with a new strategy for producing shows under Bruce Prichard on Monday night. What that new strategy is, I don't know. Let's find out. There's some speculation. New Executive Director of Raw, Bruce Prichard, has settled into a new strategy for producing 3-hour shows each week on Raw. If true, it's an interesting way to go, but the question exists, can he sustain it? Wade Keller was talking about this during his Raw Review podcast and about how the show seems to be different since Prichard took the reins. Now, while the pieces were set in place by Paul Heyman, Prichard has upped the pace of the matches, which is never a good thing. But most significantly, created and why it's not a good thing for you, because you got the younger talent who need to thrive on the in-ring work. That's my take. Up the pace of the matches. Championship Monday does not look good when all 4 championship matches go 8 minutes, 8 minutes, 3 minutes, and 60 seconds. I'm sorry. But most significantly, created a gimmick or calling card for every show, says Wade Keller. This week was Championship Monday, where multiple titles were on the line, and the return of Rey Mysterio was heavily promoted. The week prior, it was Christian confronting Randy Orton and potentially getting physical after many, many years away. In fact, the entire show was built around just a few minutes and a match that never actually happened. The plan for each show moving forward seems to really be finding that thing that will boost ratings because the moment being promoted is billed as must-see. Keller and his co-host asked the question, is this sustainable? How long and how often can Prichard come up with these moments fans feel like they can't miss? What will he come up with next week? What about the week after? More importantly, what happens when he runs out of those big ideas to promote? Short-term versus long-term strategy. This is what WWE doesn't get. They did the same thing with the wild card rule. They thought bringing over big names to sustain Monday Night Raw after the draft or after the shakeup, because you moved some of the big names over to SmackDown and you kind of left Monday Night Raw without anything. They wanted to bring the bigger names over from SmackDown because they realized that, well, we got a 3-hour show and the ratings are going down. We need to bring over those bigger names and put them back on Monday Night Raw. How can we do that? Thus, the wild card rule was born. And WWE thought that this was the same exact thing that this new strategy is for Bruce Prichard on Monday Night Raw. How long do you think it's going to last? Just like the wild card rule, they brought over all these different names. They gave you all these different matches, which meant nothing. Then come the Survivor Series when it's supposed to be what the wild card rule was for all those months. Then at that time, those matches mean nothing. The brand-to-brand warfare, the internal struggle between Raw and SmackDown, which wasn't documented at all year, means nothing. Kofi Kingston and Seth Rollins, AJ Styles and this guy, Daniel Bryan and that guy, The New Day versus that team, the Usos versus these guys. WWE couldn't sustain that. They ran out of ideas in less than 2 months because you went for a quick ratings grab instead of building long-term storylines. You want to involve legends and The Big Show and Ric Flair and Christian instead of focusing on actual long-term storytelling. I am convinced that these people cannot, for the life of them, write a story that spans 2 or 3 months. The only thing that we're seeing, and I still don't know why, what he means by the greater good of Monday Night Raw, is Rey Mysterio and Dominic Mysterio with Seth Rollins. It seems like it's been a little bit of a long-term storyline. Now, I don't know if WWE has an ending for this. They probably don't. Seems like they're building this and booking this week to week. It even shows some rinse and repeat methods from when Rollins and his guys were battling Owens and Joe. The names are just changed. But it's the same premise. It's the same fucking concept. It's the same feud. Only Mysterio is now added with Dominic. How long can he sustain this? This isn't a new strategy. This is a now strategy. And it's not going to work. It's not going to work. You're opting to push old-timers over the new talent. You're opting to book these little mini storylines that kind of tease you into watching the third hour of the show. Meanwhile, everything else in between those moments is trash. So who's going to want to stay to watch the goddamn show? How could you book this new strategy and sustain this throughout the show? Meanwhile, everything else you're putting in between those moments is not interesting. Well, on paper, this seems like a good idea. In theory, seems like a good idea. How many of these moments does WWE think they have in the can? I can't think of anything else. I'm usually good with this shit. I can't even think of anything else. You know how you get there? Write some good stories that expand over the fucking course of a month, 2 months, 3 months. What's lacking is the logic behind the show. There's no logic. On what planet do you think it's right for you to sit there and feed this shit to Vince and Vince to feed this shit to you? On what planet do you think it's right that Dolph Ziggler just shows up and gets a WWE title match? Am I losing my mind? On what planet do you think this is right, where Sasha Banks comes over from SmackDown, being a SmackDown superstar, to get a women's championship match against Asuka? She's not even on the fucking brand. She's not even on the brand. Unreal. There's no logic. It ignores the rules. The brand's invitational. You haven't heard one fucking peep out of it, but WWE continues to book their own bullshit anyway without mentioning it. They're making matches. The matches don't make sense. There's a lot being glanced over. The shows aren't structured the right way. I could go on and on about this fucking show. Dolph Ziggler and Drew McIntyre are set to main event Extreme Rules for the WWE Championship. Big Show took a stance at bullying against Randy Orton. Sasha Banks challenged Asuka. It's not a Raw superstar. Give me a break. Who gives a shit? How could you expect me to care when you put no care into making me find this to be logical? Vince McMahon no longer wants to build new stars on Monday night. Simple. Just look at the Sasha Banks situation. This is, according to Wrestling Observer Live and Dave Meltzer. Now that Paul Heyman is not there, the man who had the nerve to try new things and create new stars now is gone, and Vince is doing things the way he's always wanted to do. You may have noticed the last couple weeks on Raw that WWE seems to be trying to draw fans in by promising legends, title matches, and the return of Christian. The report is that the steadily dropping Raw ratings have left Vince and Bruce with no other option than to book Raw on a weekly basis rather than thinking ahead and trying to build new stars. Who needs new stars when you can bring back 70-year-old Ric Flair and fucking I can't walk down the aisle, Big Show, and I'm not cleared to wrestle, Christian, and I'm sick of seeing Charlotte Flair wrestle twice in one night and bury the entire women's division? Because Charlotte Flair equals ratings, apparently, to these fucking idiots. Speaking on the most recent investor call, Vince blamed the lack of Brock Lesnar not being on TV for the dropping ratings, and suggested the plan was to try and build new stars such as WWE Champion Drew McIntyre, who he didn't mention by name in this investor call, by the way. New stars like Drew McIntyre. Meanwhile, there's no doubt in my mind that Drew McIntyre's days are numbered as WWE Champion, if the report that I'm going to read to you tomorrow is any indication. Vince has no intention of building new stars. Bianca Belair is not on the show. Aleister Black is not being treated like the star that he was in NXT. Angel Garza and Andrade have been flip-flop back and forth. Buddy Murphy is nothing more than a name to Seth Rollins. Shayna Baszler's off TV. Ruby Riott has not been pushed until God knows when. She was on TV this past Monday, but what do you expect to have happen coming out of that situation? I don't even like the guy. Humberto Carrillo, buried. Ricochet, buried. Have you seen Ricochet? Do you even think he still has a job there? Cedric Alexander, buried. New stars, folks. Done. Vince has no intention on building new stars. This was absolutely thrown in your face. Thrown in your face with the Sasha Banks situation. I love Sasha to death. I do. I think she's great. But the fact that she's a SmackDown Superstar challenging for a Raw title, number one, doesn't make any sense. Number two, this is WWE's mentality. Asuka can't defend the title against Bianca Belair. Asuka can't defend the title against Ruby Riott. Asuka can't defend the title against Shayna Baszler. Now, we'll just bring in Sasha Banks because she's the only other big name that people know. And we need to sell this show. We need to sell the Extreme Rules show. We need to bring ratings up. We need to have interest in the show because nobody knows anybody else. And it's too lazy of them to build new stars. The entire match does not make sense. They'll try and make it make sense haphazardly, and they'll use it to fuel the feud with Bayley. But other than that, it's only being done because WWE refuses to build new stars. Just like you're using Drew McIntyre and Dolph Ziggler as a gateway to get Drew McIntyre to SummerSlam. Why couldn't you give Ruby Riott or somebody like that, Liv Morgan, a shot at this and build them up for a couple of wins and build them up for a pay-per-view match against Asuka? What difference does it make? You're throwing Dolph Ziggler out there for absolutely no reason but to lose. So why not do the same for Liv Morgan? Give her a spotlight. Have her showcase herself. Have people talk about her on social media. The pay-per-view means nothing anyway. It's just to get you to SummerSlam. It's apparent WWE doesn't want to build new stars. It's disgusting. And one of the absolute most frustrating things I sit here and endure during my weekly WWE intake. Why Vince McMahon gave up on pushing Liv Morgan. This comes from Gary Cassidy of Sportskeeda. Speaking of Liv Morgan, Morgan asked Vince McMahon last year to be moved to Raw, something he agreed to. But Vince has since not approved any of the pitches from ex-executive producer Paul Heyman that he told him about for her singles run. Cassidy of Sportskeeda said this: "I believe part, if not most of this, might be common knowledge. But I was told a few weeks ago about the story of how Liv Morgan's WWE run was actually meant to play out, and of the uncertainty that jeopardized it. I was told how Liv was on SmackDown, and much like Andrade, Zelina, Aleister Black, AOP, Murphy, Humberto Carrillo, and Apollo Crews, couldn't get on TV. So Liv Morgan apparently asked Vince McMahon if she could switch to Raw, and Vince said yes. While Liv Morgan moved to Raw, none of Paul Heyman's pitches for how to debut Liv would be approved by Vince until the idea of the wedding and the idea of the lesbian storyline was pitched. Of course, that was the one thing he approved for Liv Morgan." So, folks, what I just revealed to you is exactly what Vince McMahon thinks of Liv Morgan. She wants to be moved because she wants more TV time. She wants more TV time because she wants to wrestle. But the only thing Vince sees of value in Liv Morgan is the fact that I could throw her into this wedding. That means nothing. That will go nowhere. They killed it. And the only thing I see value of in Liv Morgan is the fact that she could play a good lesbian on TV. And this is the man that we trust running the company to do the right thing. If I'm Liv Morgan, I want out. I really do. She's gotten a lot better and doesn't deserve to be pigeonholed and told that the only good thing for you on TV is a lesbian storyline, but that's it. We don't even want you in the ring, and we're going to cut your match with Natalya on Monday night because fuck Liv Morgan. WWE doesn't appreciate anybody not named Charlotte Flair. More and more and more as the days and the weeks go on, that is becoming more and more apparent. If you are not named Charlotte Flair, you do not get any sort of treatment whatsoever. Every woman in that division is suffering because Charlotte Flair exists. Backstage news on Angel Garza and Andrade and the new tag team that they have formed on Monday night. Now, if you watched WWE Raw over the last couple of weeks, Andrade and Garza feuding, Selena Vega says you should start fighting together instead of feuding against each other. According to the Wrestling Observer newsletter, Garza and Andrade could be getting a run with the tag team titles. With Paul Heyman gone, some were worried about the future of some of the younger stars. When you look at Raw this week, you can see that younger stars might be worried. Shelton Benjamin, MVP, Edge, Orton, Flair, Big Show, all featured heavily on the show. According to the Observer, Garza is okay for now. However, Andrade may have a shorter leash. I think Andrade is still safe because he's engaged to Charlotte. So, I mean, he kind of realized that my career ain't going nowhere. Let me get engaged to the queen, the android, management's favorite blonde, as she's out for elective surgery. By the way, I want to see how many fucking dirt sheets pick up on the elective surgery and bullshit you. However, Andrade may have a shorter leash. It was reported Vince is high on Garza and has even compared him to Eddie Guerrero. At the very least, Raw has added a tag team to the division. Wow! They added a tag team to the division. What a novel concept! We've gotten basketball, bowling, golf. Now you mean to tell me we're moving away and actually getting tag team wrestling? Am I watching Raw? We'll have to see what happens with the Profits and Andrade Garza if it happens at Extreme Rules. Still does not make a division, though. Still does not make a division. You got the Street Profits, you got Garza and Andrade, you got the Viking Raiders. Who else? You had Bobby Roode and Dolph Ziggler come over, but you're opting to put Dolph Ziggler in a fucking title match he has no business being in. 4 tag teams does not make a division, Bruce. You need about 8. Double the number. Christian, not cleared to wrestle. Cage-side seats notes, I know. I don't want to see Christian in the ring. Notes that the current rumor is that, despite getting physical on Raw, Christian has not been cleared medically by WWE. Who gives a shit? He's only there to play a side character in the Edge and Randy Orton feud. Do I want to see him in the ring wrestle Randy Orton? No. Just as much as the Big Show and Randy Orton. I don't want it. And finally, so I get the fuck out of here and enjoy my Saturday afternoon. WWE Superstars go to bat for WWE creative team over fan criticism. My criticism isn't with creative. My criticism is with Bruce and Vince McMahon. Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Select, paid subscription by the way, has a report about two WWE stars, including a top talent that was anonymous and went to bat for the creative team and their hard work. The top star didn't believe it was fair that either Paul Heyman or Bruce Prichard got all the credit, but much of the criticism went to stupid writers. Oh my goodness, bro, you are listening to the wrong fucking podcasts. My God, man, this top talent or these top talents fucking defending the creative team. Listen, bro, you're listening to the wrong fucking show. I don't really sit here and blame them. I don't give them their props either. It's all Bruce and old Vince McMahon. We know better over here. You gotta join the OTS army, bro. Per the report, it was stated that the top star said 95% of the writers are really passionate about what they do, as well as care about the talent they're writing for. Too bad 95% of the fucking shit that they write doesn't get into Vince or Bruce. It's also known how the idea that there's a lot of unscripted promos, as stated by some, isn't necessarily true. It was added regarding this top talent. The writers often have thankless jobs and are only subjected to criticism. Well, whose fault is that? You want to write for Bruce in the WWE and Vince in the WWE, you're going to get a thankless fucking position. Because they're going to take all the credit. Vince is going to take all the credit. You're just a fucking employee number on his payroll. That's it. Another star from an opposing brand came out and echoed that sentiment. This talent offered the following quote to Sean Ross Sapp, and I quote, "There are a lot of people who make our jobs easier, writers and referees, especially who go nameless because they're not mentioned by name on TV. Almost all of them work hard and are willing to help. But clearly the shows still suck. I don't give a fuck what you say. The product is absolutely garbage. Our criticism isn't with the creative team. The creative team isn't even who you're mentioning here. The creative team is Vince and Bruce. I don't give a fuck what these guys do. We all know what they do. Doesn't matter. It doesn't even make it to TV. All they do is hand the scripts over to the talent that's written by Bruce and Vince, and they go about their day. Then the talent complains to these fucking people as if they could do anything. Meanwhile, their issue needs to be taken up with Bruce and Vince. They're nothing more than runners, folks. They're nothing more than puppets. They get blamed for everything that the upper management is responsible for. The casual idiot doesn't realize Bruce. They don't know who Bruce is. They don't really give a shit about Vince McMahon. The casual audience is going to say, oh, creative sucks. Creative can mean anything. Creative means exactly who these talents are backing up and defending. Meanwhile, we all know here what the true issue is and who really is to blame. See, Bruce has the creative team to take the bullets for him. Vince has Bruce to take the bullets for him. That's how it works. That's the hierarchy in WWE. When you don't like something on TV to the casual fucking idiot, the creative team's going to take the bullets. Meanwhile, I go right to Bruce. And I go right to Vince. Because they're the ones in charge. Bruce has a nice protective shield over the fucking 70 writers or so that he has on both Raw and SmackDown. That's the way it is. And I'm getting out of here. Thank you guys so very much for all of your supports. If you enjoyed anything here. Told you it was a loaded show, man. Did I disappoint? Of course not. Hashtag Bruce down in the comments if you made it this far. Leave me a comment on today's video and then leave me a hashtag Bruce at the end of your comment. Let me know that you made it this far in the video. Guys, I'm getting out of here. Again, enjoy the rest of your Saturday. I will be back on Sunday, no question. I got tons more. Major story coming out on Monday Night Raw that might spell doom for Drew McIntyre. Vince has a new strategy. Bruce has a new strategy on Monday Night Raw. That new strategy obviously means giving Brock Lesnar the WWE Championship and forgetting everything that they built up with Drew McIntyre. Twitter, at JD4MNY206, on Twitter and Instagram. Hit that subscribe button down below. Turn on that bell for all notifications. Hit that thumbs up. Harrys.com/script. Patreon.com/JD4MNY206. And I will see you guys right back here on Sunday's Rare Part 3 of OTS. See you guys then.